Hello, YouTube viewer. Thank you for stopping by. It is the month of Halloween, and I have yet another horror game for you. This is a classic that was rebuilt for the Gamecube, Resident Evil. It was published by Capcom in 2002 and was a rebuild of the same game that was released on the PlayStation, but that was 6 years prior. I remember when this one came out because it was followed by a few different Resident Evil games that came out just for the Gamecube, and I think they turned out to be among the best games for the system. Personally, I'm a huge fan of the Resident Evil games. I like them all, no matter what they are, on one level or another, but some of them certainly better than others. This Resident Evil game was the start of the whole story, and this build for the Gamecube is actually pretty great. There's an even newer version on the PlayStation 4 that came out a few years back, but I haven't cracked that one open yet. So I love the original PlayStation version. I beat it a bunch, and then this one came out. When this came out, it was interesting because it actually changed a little bit. Some of the puzzles were different. Clearly, they were more detailed environments. A lot more detail, actually. There's better resolution, and they did change some of the levels around just a bit. I think they also added defensive weapons to this one. You can pick up daggers and flashbang grenades along the way, and I'm pretty sure these weren't in the original game. So I guess basically if you played the PlayStation 1 game a lot, which I did, when this one came out, it was the same thing at its core, but it offered a bit more in the right places. Kind of makes you happy to play it again, I think. One fairly immediate change to the game I think a fan would notice is that the original starting video, it was completely replaced with a different opening. This new opening is rendered. The other one was full motion video, I believe. I think this intro works, but I'm going to leave it up to you to which one you prefer. In terms of story, Resident Evil is just a third-person survival horror game, where you play the part of a team member of the STARS team. The STARS team is this special SWAT team group, I guess. You can play one of two characters, and they have similar but different progressions through the game. You're sent into Raccoon City because there have been a bunch of weird reports coming through. Deaths, stuff like that, mysterious happenings, really, and they want to investigate it. You land in a helicopter, and of course you're immediately attacked by mutant dogs in the woods. Your characters run away, and you find a mansion, and you're inside the mansion. Here you need to figure out what you got to do to survive. This mansion is really just a gigantic maze, and there's not much logic to it if you compare it to reality, but basically you're going to go back and forth over the same terrain, just trying to figure out where you need to go, unlocking a little bit more each time to get through the entire puzzle. Basics of the story, if you really boil it down, it's just there's a company, a mega corporation called Umbrella, and they're this mega corporation that's been experimenting on crazy things, and these experiments have gotten out of hand. I think looking back on this one, it's important to know that this isn't really just a zombie game. Zombies are there, but it's only a portion of it. You're of course going to get zombies, but you're going to get mutant dogs, crows, insects. There's going to be sharks at one point, and there are going to be a bunch of different odd monsters and bosses that show up along the way. I think there's plenty of variety here. As far as gameplay goes, it's important to know that I am a fan of the game, but as I'm making this video, I'm realizing that I haven't played it in 15 years or so, so when I loaded it up, I realized I was not the expert I used to be. It wasn't until the second playthrough that things started to feel pretty good. This gameplay is pretty specific, and I know that there are going to be plenty of people that just hate this type of thing. Success in this game is going to be related to practice. There's just no running and gunning in this game. First time you play, you're not going to know where to go, and you're not going to be efficient. The second, third, and fourth time, it's a different story. When you start on the mansion, you're faced with limited options. You get a big area, but there are only a few doors that you can actually open and a couple of corridors. Tons of locked doors are in front of you that require specific keys that you do not have, and you're not going to have for hours. You're going to have to be patient and try to get good at the controls. Control is what it's all about, because you're running back and forth, dodging and trying to locate things, just trying to figure out what to do. And you're dealing with tank controls. It doesn't matter which direction your character is facing on screen in front of you. If you press up, you move forward. Down to move back, and left or right to move in those directions. It takes some time to get used to. You also have a turnaround move. If you press B and pull down, you're going to spin around 180 degrees. This is pretty awesome, and you should memorize this pattern early on. If you enter a room and you see some danger that you weren't prepared for, spin around and leave the room. Get your bearings, maybe come back later. It works, and it works great. The camera angles are also fixed for this game, and they change for every single room, so you're not always going to have the same viewing angle, which means you can't see everything that's in a room. It heightens the danger, it heightens the tension, and you won't be able to see certain enemies or objects. This can be frustrating if you're not used to this sort of thing. One of the biggest pressures of the game, I think, is exactly how the inventory system works. Basically, you barely get one. You can hold only 6 items, and that's definitely not enough. You're constantly trying to figure out what you should carry and when. First time you go through the game, you're going to have no clue and you're going to want to grab everything. You might actually get yourself stuck with a full inventory of the wrong items. This is a problem because you can't just drop items. There is a storage chest that you can use to keep your items. There are multiple storage chests that start out connected, but they're not easily accessible and you don't know where they are early in the game. When you do start finding the storage chests, you're still going to be juggling your stuff back and forth a lot. It gets easier once you know what to do, but that takes subsequent gameplays. Ammunition is also a problem. You're not going to have enough. You're going to need to conserve and get good at aiming and dodging. The truth in this game is that some things are not worth killing. It's better to just dodge. Resident Evil is also really good at giving you a really good claustrophobic feeling for a considerable amount of time. And then when the game does feel like it's starting to open up a little bit, when you start to get out of the mansion, it certainly feels larger, but it still feels really focused. It's kind of odd that way, but it certainly works. This is a horror game, and of course, the question actually comes in as to whether or not it's scary. At times, it certainly is. At least the first time you go through, and you don't know where things are going to be. You're going to find creatures jumping out after you at places you weren't expecting. And these moments actually can change as you progress. If you've run through a hallway 5 times and there's nothing in there, the 6th time you go in, you could suddenly have something in it. A zombie could knock down a door, or dogs could jump in through the windows. It's pretty good at giving you scares. I think you start to succeed with this game when you start to feel comfortable and you start making progress. It's certainly a game that feels rewarding, but you have to earn that reward, step by step. And every time I save this game, I'm not doing it out of habit. I'm trying to strategically lock in progress. Oddly, as you get better and better with this game, when you keep running through the story, you'll start to get good at areas that almost felt impossible the first time through. I think that's kind of nice. When you finally beat the game, you're going to get a rating, and the rating is going to be mostly dependent on time. And usually that means you're going to unlock something as well. Maybe a costume, a new weapon, or different game modes. I think my favorite rewards are the weapons you might get. Those are pretty awesome. It makes me want to play the game again. Overall, we've got an awesome game in the Gamecube. The graphic improvements are certainly far above the original PlayStation version, and the little adjustments they made here to just change things up a little bit, they really work. It's certainly the same game, it's just a little different in the right spots. Well, that's all I have today for Resident Evil on the Gamecube. If this is your type of video, please feel free to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and thanks for stopping by. Hope to catch you on another video.